You're hard to read. Sound familiar? It's something quiet people hear all the time. Or, hey, maybe you've been on the other side of that, feeling kind of weird around someone who doesn't say much, and you just can't figure out why. Well, we're going to get into that, because there's a really fascinating power dynamic happening just beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's something a lot of us have felt. A quiet person is in the room, and suddenly the whole vibe just shifts. So, what is it about that silence? Why can it make us feel so seen?
And here's the thing. The answer probably isn't what you're thinking. It's not that they're judging you or that things are awkward. Nope. It's something way deeper, something baked into the very rules of how we talk to each other. Okay, so to really get this, we've got to bust a major myth first. The myth of silence. Because what we think silence is, well, it's usually not that at all. So look at this contrast here. On the one hand, you have the common assumption, silence means absence. No words, no thoughts. Maybe they're bored, right? Disinterested. But the reality? Oh, it's the total opposite. For an observant person, that silence is packed. It's full of observation. They're processing everything. Their awareness is cranked up to 11. It's not an empty space. It's more like a command center. All right, so if their mind is a command center, what exactly are they doing in there? What are they noticing? Let's take a look. Okay, so while most of us are busy thinking about what we're going to say next, the quiet observer is, well, they're mapping the whole conversation. They're catching all the little things we miss. That tiny shift in someone's voice or how a story kind of bends depending on who's in the room. They notice those little hesitations, the inconsistencies. They're not just listening to the words, they're seeing the entire structure of how people are communicating. And that's the key right there. They're not just in the conversation, they're watching it happen. It's less about talking and more about decoding the whole thing. And this is where it gets really interesting, because that level of observation, it actually breaks a huge unwritten rule of just talking to people. Seriously, think about it. Every day we operate on this sort of unspoken deal, right? I present a version of myself, you present a version of yourself, and we both kind of agree to just accept it. We take it at face value so everything can run smoothly. This whole social contract only works if we all politely ignore the little inconsistencies. The small cracks in the performance. It's like we all agree not to point them out. That's what keeps things comfortable. And here's the kicker. The quiet observer doesn't sign that contract. By simply noticing what doesn't add up, they break the rule. They don't even have to say anything. Just their awareness is enough to change the game. And you can feel it. You get this sense that your whole carefully crafted vibe is being seen, really seen. And that, well, that can feel super uncomfortable. But it's not just what they're seeing that creates the pressure. It's the silence itself, the pause. Let's talk about the pressure of the pause. This is such a great way to put it. The presence of silence creates a kind of psychological mirror. Wow, think about that. The back and forth of a conversation stops, and that quiet moment, it basically holds up a mirror to whoever just spoke. And here's how that works step by step. First, the rhythm of the chat just breaks. All the noise and distraction, gone. And what happens next? Your own self-awareness shoots way up. You start replaying your last sentence in your head. Did I say that right? Did that sound stupid? Did I say too much? The silence isn't judging you, it's just removing the static so you're left alone with your own words. So, when someone is faced with that psychological mirror, what do? Well, people tend to react in one of two ways. All right, so on one side, you've got the people who pull away. They like light, easy conversation, and this intense observation just makes them feel exposed. It makes them really self-conscious. But then you have the other group, the ones who lean in. They actually value the observer's insight. They trust that since this person doesn't talk much, when they do say something, it really means something. They see them as a solid sounding board, not a threat. And this explains so much. If you're a quiet person, have you ever noticed people start over-explaining things to you, or they suddenly get really careful with their words? That's what's happening. They're trying to manage how they come across because they can feel you're actually paying attention. Okay, all of this brings us to our final point, and it's a really cool twist. It's the paradox of respect. It's kind of wild when you think about it. The exact same thing that makes people feel a little weird in a casual chat, that quiet observation, is the very thing that earns you deep, genuine respect over time. Yeah, check this out. That quiet observation, in the moment, it might create discomfort,
But long term, that builds major credibility. And speaking only when you have something to say, it might create a little distance at first. But man, when you do speak, your words land with so much more impact.
And really, that's the bottom line. When things are easy, sure, small talk is fine. But when things get serious, when clarity really, really matters, who do you turn to? You don't look for the person who talks the most. You look for the one who sees the most. The one who's been quietly watching and putting the pieces together. That quietness, that's their superpower. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Who's the most observant person you know? And after all this, maybe you understand them, or maybe even yourself, just a little bit better now.